In the context of financial economics and corporate finance, the pi theorem is a metaphorical way of describing the Modigliani-Miller theorem, proposition I. The name comes from the intuitive idea that the size of a pie, the total value of a firm, does not change regardless of how you slice it, the way you split the firm's value between debt and equity. 1. The core concept. Developed by Franco Modigliani and Merton Miller in 1958, the theorem states that in a perfect market, the value of a firm is determined by its underlying assets and the earning power of its operations, not by its capital structure. The mathematical representation. Let VL, the value of a levered firm, a firm with debt. VU, the value of an unlevered firm, a firm with only equity. D, total debt. E, total equity. The theorem states, economic meaning, whether a company is 100% equity financed or 50% debt financed, the total market value, V, remains the same. 2. Suitable example, the pizza metaphor. Imagine a pizza represents the total value of a company. Scenario A, all equity, you have a whole pizza. You represent the owner. The pizza is yours. Scenario B, debt and equity, you slice the pizza into two pieces. One piece, debt, is promised to a friend, and the other piece, equity, stays with you. The theorem's logic. The total amount of pizza, value, does not increase just because you cut it into two pieces. You cannot make a pizza bigger by slicing it differently. Similarly, a company cannot create value just by shifting its financing from equity to debt. 3. Assumptions. The perfect market. For the pi theorem to hold true, certain conditions must exist. No taxes. There are no corporate or personal income taxes. No bankruptcy costs. If a firm fails, the assets can be sold without legal fees or liquidation costs. Symmetry of information. Investors and managers have the same information. No transaction costs. Buying and selling securities is free. Same borrowing costs. Individuals can borrow at the same rate as corporations. 4. Economic interpretation and impact. A. Irrelevance of capital structure. The most profound takeaway is that financing decisions are secondary to investment decisions. If the pi theorem holds, a chief financial officer, CFO, cannot increase the stock price simply by taking out a loan to buy back shares. To increase value, the company must actually improve its operations, buy a better oven, to make a bigger pie. B. The WACC connection. As a firm takes on more debt, which is usually cheaper than equity, the remaining equity becomes riskier because debt holders must be paid first. This increased risk drives up the required return on equity, R_E. Mathematically, the drop in cost from using debt is exactly offset by the rise in the cost of equity, keeping the weighted average cost of capital, WACC, constant. 5. Why the pi theorem breaks in the real world. In reality, the pie does change size because the assumptions of a perfect market are violated. Tax shields, interest payments on debt are tax deductible. This acts like a subsidy from the government, effectively making the pie larger for the owners and lenders. Financial distress. As a firm takes on too much debt, the threat of bankruptcy creates legal costs and scares away customers, which eats a slice of the pie. Agency costs. Managers might take on too much risk when using other people's money, debt, which can shrink the pie. Summary. The pi theorem serves as a benchmark. While the real world has taxes and costs that make capital structure matter, the theorem reminds us that value is ultimately created by what a company does, its assets, not by how it pays for them, its liabilities. Would you like me to derive the Modigliani-Miller proposition too, which shows the exact mathematical relationship between the cost of equity and the debt to equity ratio?